Hello everybody, I am back with another what sold from last week video. If you guys are new here, every single week I come on and I share my sales that are happening on eBay and Poshmark. And also if you're new to this channel, I kind of share my journey on reselling, so things that I am trying to increase sales or decrease inventory or, all the things, move older inventory out. So it's really cool every week to just track this journey and see how those decisions are impacting my sales. I also dive into some specific sales, talk about why I picked them up and why I think they sold for how much they did, as well as a couple of keywords tricks. If you guys are interested in that and you're not already, consider subscribing down below, hit that notification bell. If you do that, you'll be notified every single time I post these videos. But for now, let's dive into the sales. All right, so this video is going to be pretty quick, probably the fastest what sold video I've done in a while, because we are covering Christmas week, which if you guys are new to reselling, or let me know down in the comments below, maybe people are experiencing different things than I am, but as a clothing reseller, I tend to have really slow sales around the holidays, surrounding it in general, like the week leading up to a holiday, the week of the holiday, and sometimes even the week after the holiday. And that's just because people are super busy and they're not online shopping. They're preparing for their families to come over. So this is definitely the slowest week I have had in a really long time. And I believe that traditionally, in Q4, even though it can be some of the best sales week, it's also usually when I have the worst sales week surrounding Thanksgiving and Christmas, just because, like I said, it's the holidays and people aren't shopping. So this is a very low week for me, but I'm still happy to, make this much in a holiday week. Crazy insane. And hopefully this time next year, this number will, be increased over time. So in total, again, this report is from December 24th through the 30th. I sold 192 items for a gross item sales total of $6,133.40, making my average item sale price $31.94, so about $32. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with that on a Christmas week. I only sold 123 on eBay and just 69 on Poshmark. Like I said, really, really low for me. So I'm not going to dive into this too much, but if you are new to reselling, I thought it was worth mentioning to kind of expect this around major holidays. This is just how it is for me. But again, let me know down below if you guys are experiencing the same thing. So let's dive into the sales. This is my best sale on eBay. This is Johnny Was. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this brand. If you're new to reselling, it took me a while to learn this brand when I was a reseller, just because I don't find this in my area a lot. So I was just never exposed to it. So I thought I would mention this. I'm actually now finding it in my area. This brand is awesome. They have a couple different sublines. Specifically this label, just the regular Johnny Was, performs the best for me. And pretty much everything I pick up in Johnny Was and their lines performs well. But they're mostly known for their multicolor bohemian embroidered stuff. This one was especially nice because it was a plus size 1X. The larger the size in most brands, not to say all of them, but most brands, usually the higher profits you can make. So this one we listed at $125. The style was called the Roma embroidered tunic top. And I sent out offers to watchers, and someone accepted an offer of $106 for this item. This item did take about 2 months to sell, but really great profits and return on investment. All right, next up, another high price sale on eBay. This is a fantastic brand to look for in shoes. It is Ariat. Depending on what style you have and the condition of the item, honestly, you could get anywhere from $20 all the way to $200. It really just depends. For Ariat and really any shoes, I always look for either a style number, which that's what this is, or the great thing about shoes is you can do a Google Lens and it almost always pulls up the style. So they're really easy to look up. But I always include the style name in my search because it does make a big difference in comps. So these are called the Ariat Men's Groundbreaker Work Boots. I listed these for $125 or best offer. I included best offer because the range was a little crazy on these boots, and I wanted to make sure that, I I listed it high enough that I was getting what it was worth, but I also included best offer so that if I did price it too high, people could basically tell me what they were willing to pay. So these ones sold relatively quickly. I guess not actually. I guess it took a few months to sell, but that's pretty quick for, you know, a higher end pair of boots. I listed for $125 or best offer. Someone sent an offer for $100, which I accepted. But definitely keep your eye out for Ariat, and really any kind of Western wear boot is really popular right now. All right, next up, I've talked about this a lot and I won't go into too much of detail, but these vintage leather coach bags all have the same similar look to them. They're very plain, usually neutral colored, and they all have kind of the same shape in a way. There are different styles, but they all have the similar aesthetic. I've been finding a ton of these lately. For coach bags, since they do make fakes, I always look up the serial number on the inside. I got a question, actually it was in our the Resellers Edge group, that was asking how to authenticate stuff, and they said, is it possible that there's a fake with the correct serial number on it? And yes, it is possible. You have to rely on multiple things. The serial number, you know, is it a style that they actually make? Is it a colorway that they actually make? Is the quality there? And many other things. But you can self-educate yourself by searching how to authenticate a coach bag. There are tons of videos out there. There's tons of websites, articles. So do your research and figure out how works for you. But one of the best ways I find is to look up the serial number and then compare to real ones. So this was called the Coach Women's Crossbody Station Bag. Almost every single vintage coach bag, regardless of condition, this one did have a little bit of wear to it around the edges and the toggle. I can almost always get at least $100 for it. So I'm willing to pay up for them because they flip super quickly. This one I found at a thrift store and I paid $30 for it. But it was totally worth it to me because I knew it was going to flip super quickly. So I paid $30. I listed this one at $100. It sold in about 20 days for my full asking price of $100. And I believe I actually found multiple of this same style at the same thrift store, all for $30, but different colors, and they just all sell. They sell so quickly. So this is my PSA to everybody. If you see a Coach vintage bag, first make sure it's authentic, but then definitely consider picking it up because they flip really well. Here's another example of that. This one I found at a different thrift store. I only paid $8.99 for this. You can see it's a different style. It was called the penny crossbody purse, but you can see it kind of has a similar aesthetic, very plain, high quality leather with that turn lock right here, which again tends to be a very popular factor to indicate that it's a vintage Coach bag. So this one also had some wear throughout. Like I said, I paid $8.99 for it. This one sold in about a month and a half for my full asking price of $95. So similar style, not the same, still sold for about $100. Next up is another pair of Western boots. Like I said, I'm keeping my eye out for pretty much any kind of Western boot. If it's got the brand and it's got the size, I'm looking it up. Obviously, if there's a bunch of wear like super heel drag or something like that, I'll probably consider leaving it behind. But if it's just distressing on the leather and it's just like some slight color discoloration, I don't usually have an issue. Sometimes the distressed look of leather can actually aid in selling it. So I'd look these ones up. These were called the Stewart, just vintage Stewart is the brand name, men's Western boots. I couldn't find an exact style, so I tried to describe as I could. This is a fantastic color, this like almost cognac brown, camel color brown, whatever you want to call it. But this color brown is very popular in both shoes and handbags and accessories. I paid $20 for these boots. I listed them for $100. They did sell for full asking price and they took 2 months to sell. Next up is a brand that retails for a lot but doesn't always have the best resell value, but in general it does have a pretty good following, so I really like picking it up, especially in more substantial pieces. So this one was a very good style. It was called the Elaine quilted jacket, and very good comps on this and pretty much any quilted jacket right now. Quilted definitely adds some value, so if you see something quilted, include that in your comp search. Let's see, I listed this for $85. This one took 8 days exactly to sell for an offer to watcher of $72, so fantastic return on investment. All right, this is kind of different for me. I don't usually sell formal wear, but I saw some decent comps in this brand Donna Vinci. This also just had a very like good aesthetic to it, very art to wear, which is something, I don't know. I don't want to say that I have a specific customer because we sell many different things. So I think I have a lot of customers in different categories, but definitely the like more mature brands, the log and look stuff, very artsy, eclectic is definitely a customer base that I have in my store because I find a lot of that stuff. So I had a really good gut feeling about this just because I sell a lot of that stuff. So I listed this for $65. It's a very art to wear. I'm trying to think of the other word. There's another kind of like runway word I could have used with this, but you get the vibe. Very artsy. I listed this for $65. It sold for my full asking price, and this one sold the same day we listed it. So that's pretty cool. Did I price it too low? I don't know. Maybe it just happened to be the right place at the right time. Here's another kind of, I almost said formal, but it's not formal. It's just like a substantial dress. This is a brand Rami Brooke, which is a designer and actually has a pretty decent following, not 100% sell-through rate, but a pretty decent following in the dresses. And the ones that are selling for quite a bit. So I felt confident picking this one up just because, like I said, it was more of a substantial piece. There were a couple of flaws on it, but since it was all over pink, I thought it would be good for the Barbiecore trend. So I really leaned on that. I listed this for $60. It did sell for my full asking price. However, it did take several months to sell. But you know, we are in the dead of winter. So if you guys come across Rami Brooke, I would consider picking it up, maybe just price lower than everyone else. All right, next up, I talk about Abercrombie & Fitch a lot. It's a brand that's regained a lot of popularity, especially in their Y2K stuff. This is a men's hoodie. Anytime I see a men's Abercrombie & Fitch item that's heavily branded, like this one has the like spell out right here, I'm looking it up because most of the time it goes for quite a bit. This is a very thick, heavy, like fleece Sherpa lined hoodie in a size extra large. So lots of things going for it. Definitely Y2K vibes. This one did have quite a bit of wear to it. Otherwise, I would have priced it much higher. I listed this for $45. It did sell for my full asking price. And this took about a month to sell. So keep your eye out for stuff like this, especially in the men's department, because there is a big following in Abercrombie & Fitch pieces right now. All right, in the Resellers Edge group, somebody had just mentioned, well, first of all, we were talking about preparing for spring and summer, basically getting ahead of the seasons, which, by the way, if you're watching this right now, we are in, let me see. Oh, it's exactly the middle of January, January 15th. And probably like, I still haven't figured out the exact formula, but I know that people tend to start shopping for swimwear in February, which is bizarre to me. I learned that at PoshFest from someone from Google that was like showing us how to use Google Trends and stuff like that. And so I do know that we need to prepare months ahead of time. So that's what I'm trying to do. I have already started seeing a bunch of summer stuff sell within the last week. So the second week of January, tons of summer stuff starting to sell, like the majority of my stuff. So I am personally switching over right now. I'm only going to pick up winter pieces if they're really, really good. They have a really good sell-through rate, and I know that they're going to maintain their value. But in the group after that discussion, somebody was mentioning, they made a post that said, like, what are some good swimwear brands? And I was like, I really actually don't know. I don't sell a ton of swimwear. But one of the brands that I've been selling a lot of recently in swim trunks is this brand right here, which is Vilebrequin. It is a very new brand to me. They make men's swim trunks, very like graphic, kind of artsy looking swim trunks, and they sell really well. They have a really good following. So I'm sharing this with you today in case you also want to do what we're doing, and start getting ahead on seasons and looking for stuff, because most likely if you find swim stuff right now, it's going to be cheap because thrift stores are not as ahead as a reseller is. So you could probably get it pretty cheap just because it's out of season. So these I listed for $45. They're octopus graphic swim trunks. They did sell for my full asking price. I listed them at the end of October, so they did take, let's see, 2 months to sell. However, that's really great for swim trunks to sell within 90 days at full asking price in the dead of winter. So definitely a brand to be on the lookout for. If you guys have any swimwear brands that you really like picking up that flip well for you, even in winter, drop them down below. All right, next up is more of a bread and butter. I like sharing plus size brands that do well. Sometimes, you know, a plus size in a brand that you don't normally pick up increases the value enough that it's worth getting. This is one of those brands for me. Ralph Lauren tops in plus sizes have a really great sell-through rate and perform well, especially in a 3X, which this one was, and especially new with tags, which this one was. This also has a really nice like draped office feel, kind of goes along with that log and look feel a little bit. I listed this for $40 since it was new with tags, accepted an offer of, or not an offer, someone accepted an offer I sent out to watchers for $34. This took several months to sell, but again, it is sleeveless and it's the dead of winter. All right, next up is something I'm going to be keeping my eye out for spring, and they are bib overalls. Any kind of overalls, especially denim, really add a lot of value in what could otherwise be a not so great brand. So this is Old Navy. Had a lot of things going for it. It was plus size, it was a denim overall, and it was a baggy wide leg, which is a very popular style. So included some keywords with this. I listed it for $40 and it did sell for my full asking price, and it took about 2.5 months to sell. All right, next up, we talked about this in a deep dive video. It is Under Armour Storm, which is a really fantastic line in Under Armour to be on the lookout for. Plus this was camo, plus it was a larger size, plus it was men's. So lots of factor stacking in this. Under Armour is not a brand I can usually fit within my business model just because it sells so cheaply, but there are key pieces that you can pick up that can sell for decent money, and you know, still make some money. So this was one of those pieces for me. If you haven't, go back and watch that deep dive video if you're someone who comes across Under Armour a lot, because I like knowing what I can pick up in brands that are pretty abundant to me, because I hate to just walk by stuff that, you know, has a good sell-through rate and can sell for a lot. So this is one of those pieces for me. I listed this at $40. It did have some wear to the logo. It sold on an offer to watcher for $34, and this one took 2 months to sell. Next up, this is a great men's jeanswear brand to be on the lookout for. It is Cinch. They have pretty good sell-through rate and comps depending on the style. This one was called Grant, and for me, they usually go anywhere from like, I don't know, 25 to 40 bucks. It really depends, like I said, on the style and the size. These ones I listed at $35. They did sell for my full asking price, and they took about a month to sell. These are great bread and butter in fall and winter for me. They are Born leather booties, but since I am switching to spring and summer, I probably won't pick up very many of these anymore, just because I'm trying to move over to warmer weather. But in fall and winter, very good bread and butter brand to pick up in leather shoes. These were called the Ozark booties. I listed them for $35. They sold on an offer to watcher for $30, and these only took a couple of weeks to sell. All right, next up is Vera Bradley. This is not a brand I would recommend getting in most things. However, they do have some rare prints. If you guys know some of them and you want to help each other out, you can drop it down below. I know there's some like Harry Potter themed ones that perform really well. There's a couple other ones that I've noticed. So when I saw this flamingo print at a thrift store, I was like, I'm gonna look that up because I just haven't, it could be rare, I haven't seen it. And flamingo print Vera Bradley stuff has a very high sell-through rate. So I actually paid up for this. I paid $8.19 and I listed it for $35, but I knew it was going to be a super quick flip. So it's just a little backpack. It was called the Lighten Up backpack with a flamingo print. Like I said, it was set for $35. It sold for my full asking price, and it only took a couple of weeks to sell. So if you come across something that seems like it might be a little bit more unique in Vera Bradley, I would definitely recommend looking it up. All right, this is a category that I guess has kind of opened my eyes lately because I've been selling a lot of it. It's like recovery compression wear. For some reason, we've been coming into a lot of it recently, and they're all selling super quickly, so I thought it was worth mentioning. This is called Prairie Wear, and it is a compression recovery bra. Here is the label here. Very good comps on this. Size large, front zip. You can see I added a lot of keywords in the title for this. Listed it for $40. It sold for full asking price within just 2 weeks of listing. So there's definitely some buyers in this category, and I do think it's worth looking into. Okay, next up, this brand does have a high sell-through rate, but there is not a lot of it available, but I thought I would mention it just because of the aesthetic. If I see anything with this aesthetic, the like southwesterny, Aztec-y multicolor, I'm definitely going to look it up. So this brand is called Western Wits. You can see it's made in USA. This kind of stuff is what's selling right now with, Yellowstone and some of those other shows that are really popular. Very popular aesthetics still. I listed this one for $35. It sold for my full asking price within just a week of being listed. Next up is a J. Crew piece. This is definitely factor stacking. I don't get everything J. Crew. I'm going to plug in again deep dive videos. If you haven't watched the J. Crew deep dive videos, there is a deep dive video on J. Crew that we're, I come across it a lot. So we go into detail what sells well in J. Crew and figuring it out so that I'm not passing on items. So cashmere is definitely one of those things. This was a cashmere pullover sweater. It had some leopard print to it, which I do think helped to add some value. Listed it for $35. It sold for my full asking price, and it took about 3 weeks to sell. Next up is a vintage kind of Western wear brand I would definitely be on the lookout for. It is called Rock Mount Ranch Wear. Very good comps on this. I listed this one for $32 and it did sell for my full asking price. This one did take several months to sell, however. All right, moving on to some Poshmark pieces. I did have some pretty decent sales on Poshmark despite there being very few of them, so I pulled the better ones to show you today. This first one is by the brand Doan, which if you come across anything Doan, it's probably worth getting. If you go onto their website, their stuff sells for hundreds of dollars. They just have a really good following, usually a really high sell-through rate on the resale market, and sell for quite a bit. I've never really seen something like this before. I got this in wholesale. I wasn't sure if it was a wrap top, a robe, or what it was. I decided that it was a robe. It was a size extra small. Unfortunately, it had a lot of flaws, so different like spots throughout, plus it was missing its like sash or belt. So because of that, we listed a lot lower just to get it to move, and it still sold for $51, which is crazy. So definitely keep your eye out for Doan pieces. Definitely has a good following. All right, next up, this is a brand that also performs really well in plus sizes for me. It is Madewell. Madewell used to be a bolo. I don't pick up a lot of it anymore unless it's a substantial piece or a larger size. So this was a larger size for me. This is called the Courier back button top in a size 3X. I listed, I think, for $35. It sold for $29 on an offer on Posh. All right, this is a brand I hardly ever get. It is Gap. However, lots of factor stacking here. It was a like relaxed boyfriend shirt. It was 100% linen, and it had a bright multicolor rainbow stripe. If you guys see anything with this aesthetic, the bright multicolor rainbow stripes, It is a very popular aesthetic right now, so I definitely recommend getting, because as you can see, it can increase value in a lot of things, even brands that you wouldn't normally get. So I think I listed this for $30. I accepted an offer of $24, and this one flipped really quickly. Next up is the brand Chico's. This is a line specifically in Chico's that performs well for us. It is their Chico's Travelers Slinky Knit stuff. I come across these very often. Larger sizes are definitely going to perform the best, but I can usually get like 20-25 bucks for them. Sometimes I end up selling them for $29 on Poshmark, so it really just depends. But we're flipping these pretty quickly. They have it like a very stretchy, lightweight knit to them. You'll know when you feel them, but it's very good bread and butter for me, so I continue to pick them up. This is a brand of shoes I haven't found in quite a while. They're called UFOs Comfort Clogs. This was a camo slip-on clog. These went really, really quickly, so I thought they were worth mentioning. And they sold for $40 on Poshmark. Another brand of men's jeanswear to be on the lookout for is Mugsy. This one's more of like a chino pant kind of thing, but I can usually get like 35 to 40 for Mugsy jeans. I listed these a little bit lower just because they weren't jeans, they were pants, and they still sold for $28, but very high sell-through rates on Mugsy depending on what you have, so be on the lookout for those. All right, here is kind of similar, like multicolor rainbow stripe aesthetic. Just thought I'd show you another sale on that again. This is the brand Bowden, and Bowden, especially in multicolor stripes, performs really well. I've just noticed that. It usually sells for a lot more. And this is a brand I definitely recommend looking up the style name on, because it can make a big difference. This was called the Bowden Becky linen blouse. I think I listed it for $45. It sold on an offer to Watcher for $38. This is a bra brand called Wackhole, which honestly can be a pretty decent brand to pick up if you're just picking up bras at the bins, and you can flip them for, 15 to 25 bucks if you're cool with that. Those profit margins, bras can be a great thing to pick up. They're very easy to list, very easy to ship. They're just easy, and they can be quick flips. So this one was a breast cancer awareness bra in a larger size. Again, larger size definitely adding a lot of value, and it sold for $20. This is St. John. This is their Santana knit, which is the fabric that they're most well known for. So anytime I find Santana knit, I usually pick it up. This is just a black pull-on skirt. It did have I guess a flaw. Someone had taken in the waist and we had to undo it, so I made sure to note that. And this skirt sold for $69. This is a brand that doesn't usually flip quickly for me, but when it does flip, it flips for a lot. Next up is a brand I'd highly recommend getting in wool, alpaca, cashmere pieces pretty much all year round, just because it holds a lot of value. It is Peruvian Connection. This one is a men's multicolor wool sweater. You can see just how gorgeous this is, again, with that multicolor being a really popular aesthetic right now. This one unfortunately had a couple snags in it, otherwise I would have listed it higher. It ended up selling on an offer to Watcher for $80. Had it not had those falls, probably would have went over $100, but definitely a brand to look for. Here's another St. John piece. This is the Santana knit again. This is a tunic top. It went for $85. This is a brand that, especially in the summertime, is really popular for me. So if you're somebody, like I said, like we're doing in the group, start getting ahead now and start picking up pieces like this. But it is packed organic cotton. If you guys watch that Poshmark trends report, this was on that list as being a really great sustainable brand that people are looking for. So I absolutely love this brand. It continues to have a pretty high sell-through rate, and their dresses do really, really well. This is a midi tank dress in a size large, and it sold for $35. And again, we are in winter still. Here's another pair of shoes. I guess I had a really good week on shoes, but these are a pair of men's very heavy duty motorcycle boots. Anytime you see this like harness here, I'd consider that a motorcycle boot. So you know, you can use that in your comps. Very heavy duty. These are by the brand Bates, which is a brand I had never heard of before. I guess we did not get a close-up, but it actually says Bates right here on the front of it. Good sell-through rate in this brand, and just honestly, in pretty much any brand known for motorcycle boots like this, or like biker looking boots, they usually perform well. So keep your eye out for them and make sure to do a comp. These ones sold for $60. This is just Athleta, but I thought it was worth mentioning that there are still styles in Athleta that can perform well. They're typically like wide leg or cargo pants. These are called the Chelsea cargo pants, and they're in a great size, in a size 12. They went for $39 on Poshmark. Here's another J. Crew piece. This is a J. Crew women's kind of older label, honestly, wool blend coat. Someone sent an offer for $72. I think I originally had it priced much higher, and it had a small hole in the collar. So even with all of that, still got $72. J. Crew outerwear pieces can be really valuable. And lastly is a new brand to me. It is called Nilla by, I don't even know how to pronounce it, but here is the label. But this also falls under that login look aesthetic, kind of artsy, oversized, full button, drapey. If you guys see anything like this and it, you know, it's a brand you haven't heard of, I would definitely look it up because there is a lot of value in stuff like this. This one sold for $57. Alright guys, so that is it for what sold last week. I hope that y'all enjoyed watching. Thank you guys so much for being here and bearing with me as I start to catch up on these what sold videos. That is it for today. We'll see you guys in the next one.